Hello and welcome to the 5th 6 weeks curriculum preview for 10th grade. Our focus this 6 weeks is on a genre review in order to prepare for STAR. We also want to respond to text, write a persuasive essay, and write an expository essay. So all of our standards are really a review this 6 weeks. So Strand 5 is fiction, and that was introduced in the 4th 6 weeks. Strand 8 we may want to spend some time on because it was introduced in the first 6 weeks along with Strand 9, and that's our informational text and our expository text. Strand 10, our persuasive text, was introduced in the third 6 weeks. I would also strongly suggest that you review poetry even though it's not listed in your standards because that will show up on our assessment. Our response to literature, we've been focused on the OER, but now we know that that 10-line constrained response has been removed from the assessment. We can really take our response to literature into more of a analysis of literature focus, where the response with text evidence is building those analytical skills towards college and career readiness. We don't have to constrain our students anymore with the format and the limits of 10 lines. So really we want them to develop their response with strong text evidence and in a authentic nature. Persuasive essay and expository essay are both review. We really want to focus in on those persuasive essay features before assessment, knowing that the claim that a student makes and the stand that a student takes is what's really been hurting us with a persuasive essay, that we want them to really stay on one side of the issue in a test writing format. We also want to review our grammar conventions and remember where our students have issues. As well as everything, we have to remember that our Figure 19 skills overlay with everything that we teach because we don't teach in isolation from metacognition. And we also have to remember that our standards call for continuous application of previously taught skills. Our 10th grade revision and editing section on our EOC is really a K through 10 assessment, in the fact that none of the skills tested on the editing portion were from 10th grade. They were all from previous grades, even all the way down to first grade. So it's very important that we do review some of those primary skills, such as apostrophes and spelling and things like that, because they're hurting our kids. When we do our pairing in terms of genre review, it's going to be very important that you consider your former scores that you have on your common formative assessments and on your CBAs from the district. Look at where the kids are struggling, but also look at where they're strong. Consider using small groups to reteach and review, because not all kids need all groups. You might have a kid who needs vocabulary versus a kid who needs inferencing with fiction but not inferencing with nonfiction. Also, ask students to help make a plan for their own learning by determining where they're strong and where they're weak. Think of it as a mini PDSA cycle. When we ask students to get involved, we are also asking them to be invested in their learning. So when they tell you, I'm good at vocabulary, I don't need help with that, but I'm really bad at inferencing, or I'm really bad at summary, so you can say, okay, so how can we handle that? Here's the things I can offer you. Which ones do you think you need? And have the students get invested in what they're doing. I think students also need help in how to really break down a STAR prompt, and there needs to be some explicit instruction on that, like first you do this, then you do that. And on developing a thesis, that is our number one error still, is that students do not have a good, strong thesis. We also want to remind students that with persuasive writing in STAR, so just for test writing, it is really better to have one strong reason with good evidence than many reasons with little or no evidence. It's also really good for test writing to take a stand and stick with it. Don't worry about an opposing viewpoint. Don't worry about a counterclaim. Just make a statement and stick with it. Because when they waffle is when they lose their train of thought, and then they get marked down because they lose their organization. So focus for STAR writing on one good reason with good evidence, well developed, that makes their stand in persuasive writing. So for resources, I would really encourage you to use the Texas Gateway. It's written by TEA sources for Texas standards. You can search by grade and content, and then you can find lessons that can be used in a variety of groupings, in a variety of ways. They can be used at school, they can be used at home, they can be used in a tutorial period. You can use them with individuals, partners, small group, whole group. You could use just parts of a lesson. But for example, if you look up persuasive writing for 10th grade, there might be 16 different lessons, and you would pick and choose the ones that the kids need. So if they need help with thesis, you would go with that lesson. If they need help with choosing good evidence, you would go with that lesson. And so there's a lot of different choices for those. As always, I'm here to help you, so let me know if you need anything. Thanks.